Obviously, we are going through a change in Chicago again. And this will not be the last one. The Chicago Bulls are a wreck. I think we all know that. Having covered that team, having grown up rooting for that team, the Chicago Bulls rarely make good decisions. And over the last 48 hours, they didn't make very many good decisions. Yesterday was not a good day for the Chicago Bulls. We'll talk about the Alex Caruso trade to OKC coming up in a moment. But this story with the Utah Jazz and the Chicago Bulls, there are reports that the Chicago Bulls are aggressively looking to trade Zach LaVine before the NBA draft. They are, according to reports, talking to the Utah Jazz and the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, everybody around the Sixers has flatly denied that this is a story. Zach LaVine, according to sources inside the 76ers and many reports, go and find it. The Philadelphia 76ers have little to no interest in Zach LaVine, which makes a lot of sense. Do the Utah Jazz have interest in Zach LaVine? I can tell you, according to sources close to the Utah Jazz, the Jazz and the Bulls have had conversations about Zach LaVine, but there is an important part to this conversation. The Bulls and the Jazz have had extensive trade talks for multiple seasons now, starting with Gobert, continuing with Donovan Mitchell. Now I think continuing conversations around Zach LaVine. I do not think this trade happens. I want to make that very clear before everybody's like, well, Uncle Monty said it was going to happen. I do not believe that there is an avenue or an end game that sees Zach LaVine end up playing for the Utah Jazz. I could see other scenarios. Is this a buyout? Ryan Smith is not a guy right now that is spending money. He is not a guy that is cutting dudes checks. That's not typically outside of one Russell Westbrook deal before he landed an NHL franchise that requires a stadium renovation and a complete development of a redistrict, which, he's getting a ton of taxpayer money for, but he's still got to put his own cash into it. He does not seem, according to NBA sources and Jazz sources I talk to, willing to spend a whole bunch of money out of pocket, which is why I don't see this trade happening. The other reason I don't see this trade happening is that the Chicago Bulls have been and continue to be fans of Colin Sexton. And if you look at the trade scenarios, and while I have not run this through trade machines or, pivot tables, it would strike me as a possibility that John Collins, who the Jazz really would like to move, and his salary, along with Colin Sexton, to the Chicago Bulls for Zach LaVine and the one player that Danny Ainge and the Jazz have coveted for 2 years now, Ayo Dosunmu. Financially, that trade works. But this is going to be about a lot more than finances. If a deal between the Bulls and the Jazz happen, and again, I'm not convinced it's going to. I would put it at 15% max. There's going to have to be a hell of a lot of draft capital involved in this. And I'm not talking about pick swaps. I'm talking about straight up draft compensation coming to the Utah Jazz. If they are going to take an enormous contract on Zach LaVine, a guy that, let's not forget, has annual knee issues. He has knee issues that will never go away. You're going to have to kick in an enormous amount of draft capital. And I am telling you, according to my sources, that is not going to happen. This trade, I just think, never gets off the ground because there isn't an appetite from the Chicago Bulls to give up their future when they may well be tearing this down. And this is probably the most important point. If you are the Chicago Bulls, how much do you value DeMar DeRozan? Because you traded arguably his best friend on the team in Alex Caruso. And again, we're going to talk about that deal in a minute. But you traded Alex Caruso. You're trading Zach LaVine, and whatever heat exists between DeMar and LaVine, you're still trading your two, arguably, outside of DeMar, your two most important players. Do you really think DeMar DeRozan's going to have an appetite to re-sign with the Chicago Bulls? if you move Caruso and LaVine. Why would he? And I think it's a critical factor. It's another reason I don't see this trade happening, especially not to the Utah Jazz. Jake, it just seems very far-fetched to me.
Yeah, and I think the best point that you make there is the willingness to spend money right now for Ryan Smith and the Utah Jazz. I think that, when this story came out, everyone was like, oh, well, there could easily be a 3-team situation here, and we're right back in the middle of NBA summer trade chaos, and I think that was kind of the initial reaction. But when I saw this, I was like, the only way this could even have a chance of happening is if Philly was interested in getting involved in a 3-team situation, which they're not. They're just not interested in LaVine or that trade. And so for that reason alone, I was like, yeah, this probably doesn't happen. And I think that as far as DeMar is concerned for the Bulls, that's exactly right. I mean, if you're going to trade his best friend on the roster in Alex Caruso, and you're going to trade Zach LaVine, the Bulls are no longer a contender in the East. You clearly are going to take a step back to try to build a better roster, which is fine. So to me, as far as the Jazz are concerned, I just don't think that the Jazz this offseason certainly are going to be a team that's looking to bring on a lot of salary, or looking to take that step forward that organization in their position would be looking to take. I think that Ryan Smith is going to continue to be conservative. I think that Ryan Smith is not going to be looking to bring in star players, and it's no surprise that John Collins is the guy they want to move, because John Collins has one of the bigger contracts on the cap right now. And by the way, I'm still curious what the Utah Jazz are looking at for an extension with Lauri Markkanen, because honestly, like, there's a trade market for them. They have offers now. I'm not sitting here saying that they're going to take those offers, but if you're not going to take the offers and you're not going to trade them, or you're not going to extend them, I don't know what the plan is for Lauri. And that, to me, is the biggest issue when we talk about trades involving the Utah Jazz. I don't know what the plan is for Lauri Markkanen. I don't know what the plan is for Walker Kessler. I don't know what the plan is for Colin Sexton. There's not clear cut, like, hey, this is someone that we're just 1,000% committed to because this is what we're trying to do with them, right? Or like, this is someone that, like Keontae George. If you don't think Keontae George is the number one point guard, why are we not hearing about moving him? Why are we not hearing about, hey, like, we're looking to add more draft capital still before the draft, and pretty much everybody except Lauri is available? Why are we not hearing that in the media? You notice you're not seeing that. So my point here is that when I saw this yesterday, I was like, there's no way that the Jazz are going to add Zach LaVine. That doesn't work with where they are or the timeline that they're on. So I just don't think it's a great fit overall. And I honestly don't know when the Jazz are going to start spending money, because it's not going to be this offseason, and I'm not sure it's next offseason.
I am very curious to see that, because I think when you look at the situation with the Jazz, they don't have a current direction with this roster. Okay, so we're all in on the young guys. Well, then why is Jordan Clarkson still here? One of the most perplexing moves, and we talked about it at the time. Guy I was talking to yesterday said, I still don't understand why they did not move Jordan Clarkson, and what did they do to get him to opt back in to his deal? And it is really surprising. And you look at Colin Sexton, you look at John Collins. If they trade John Collins and they are efforting John Collins, what was the point of doing that deal? Why did you trade for John Collins? It is a head scratcher. You're not building a roster. You traded Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell for, in essence, what netted you Colin Sexton, Lauri Markkanen, and you look at Walker Kessler as a great example of this conversation. Walker Kessler was not good last year. That was not a developmental year. That was not another big step forward. Walker Kessler took a step back last year. And largely, most people believe it's because John Collins is here. And so the question is, did you sacrifice Walker Kessler to play John Collins only to turn around and trade John Collins. It just, you gave away a year. And I know that Jazz fans don't want to hear that. But you've given away a year. We haven't even tapped into, is Will Hardy a viable NBA head coach at the moment? Because his relationship with Walker Kessler really makes you wonder about that.
Well, and I feel like a lot of Jazz fans and the organization certainly don't want to have the Will Hardy conversation. They don't want to talk about, well, is Will just a placeholder? Because you can't have it. See, and this is the problem for the Jazz. You can't have it both ways.
Nope.
Like, for people who've been covering the NBA, you're not going to get a free pass here. So you can't have it where the messaging is we're all in on the young guys and Will Hardy's this great up and coming young head coach and we're building in the right direction, right? But then at the same time, you do John Collins type deals. You keep Jordan Clarkson. And then you watch this team. And I know for a fact the hardcore Jazz fan on this show, the Brandon Butlers, the Greg Hawkins, like the mainstays on this show, and other folks on Twitter that I interact with during the season, we're like, I don't know what this team's doing. We don't play defense. We don't play offense. We don't really have a scheme. We have terrible defense, and our out of timeout stuff really is not that good. And so whether it's the coaching side of it or the front office side of it, the organization has no direction or movement forward. It's almost as if, and I know this might sound harsh, but it's almost as if we're just spinning. We're just
you're gliding.
You're like just kind of chilling because Ryan wants to do all these things outside of the basketball side, whether it's the hockey team, the Olympics, like rebrands. And
BYU.
That's the hard part. BYU, right? And that's the hard part for me when I look at this organization and I see stories like this come out. There was never a chance in hell you were trading for Zach LaVine. That was never going to be. It
makes zero sense.
You were never doing that. Like, that's not going to happen.
If you send John Collins and Colin Sexton and you end up with Zach LaVine, Ayo Dosunmu, and a package of picks, are you better? That's the question that I think you have to ask about the Utah Jazz. If you make that deal, are you a better basketball team? And the answer is an unequivocal, no, you are not. And I love Ayo Dosunmu as a player. He is in an absolute stall in development. And you are trading a guy, in my opinion, in Zach LaVine, that's without question a salary dump. You're dumping a bad contract. And you're also taking a guy in Ayo Dosunmu that's in a stall developmentally. On a roster, you're putting him into a roster in an organization that is stalled developmentally. So you're taking on a knee injury, you're taking on a project in a young guard in an organization that isn't growing and developing young players. And much to Jake's point about why Danny Ainge would say that about Keontae George. You just said the guy you drafted last year's not a starting point guard or not a number one point guard. Like, it is surprising to me that you would even be engaged in these conversations because you're talking about problems. You're taking other people's problems. And you're doing that. The logic would have to be, we're doing that for more draft picks. And I would hope that it's not in this year's draft, that it would be at least in next year's draft.
Seriously.
Which is significantly better than this year's draft. This is the other unspoken amongst Jazz fans. This year's draft is a shit stock. It's not good.
Garbage.
Yeah, it's not good. This year's draft, if we're truth telling, I don't believe that there is an MVP caliber player in this year's draft. I don't see that. There is not a VW. There is not a, in my opinion, I don't see a number one player in this draft. I truly do not.
But let's say that there was a number one player in this year's draft. Do we really trust the Utah Jazz and this organization to develop them and turn them into a number one player in the NBA? Because that's the thing. That's the hard reality of where the Jazz are at right now, which is, hey, cool, you can have these goals and you can say, yeah, we're gonna we're gonna bring someone in. We're gonna do this deal and eat a huge contract on a guy with a bad knee, because we want to bring in draft capital. So you can do that, but ultimately, if you can't turn the package that you get out of the draft into a number one player, what are we even doing? And my real hesitation right now, and my real struggle is, I know for a fact that Danny Ainge didn't just forget how to build an NBA championship roster. And this is the part that bothers me, because this part suggests that it's like, yeah, well, you've got a guy, Danny Ainge, and you've got a guy, you've got a front office that I think is definitely capable of building certainly a Western Conference Finals contender. Certainly. I have no question about that. But you don't have an owner right now who's willing to fund it. And I really struggle with that concept, because the decision-making goes all the way back to bringing Danny Ainge in. The same thought process of, hey, we're going to bring Danny in, but we're not going to do anything with Danny, is the same process of, hey, we're going to trade for John Collins, but because we traded for John Collins, we wasted we wasted him, and we're just going to trade him. There's no Walker Kessler sitting here rotting on the bench because we wanted to bring in a veteran. Like, what is the point? That's my thing. So when the Bulls are out here clearly trying to chop down their salary and clearly trying to move on from some of these guys, and you, the Jazz, are sitting here like, yeah, we have money, we have draft capital, we could make a deal happen if we wanted to, but even if we made the deal happen, that wouldn't really put us in a better spot at this time because we don't have money or enough money to complete the roster. That's what you can't get past. And I don't know where, like, how long is this cycle of just sort of sitting here? That's what I'm wondering. Is this like a 4-year thing, a 2-year thing? Like, how long?
I don't know.
I
don't know the answer to it. And then there is the inexplicable, the Chicago Bulls traded Alex Caruso to OKC for Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey essentially was accused of and in the middle of an investigation of sex with an underage girl. And you traded for him. Nobody else would. You did. Not only did you trade, the Chicago Bulls trade for Josh Giddey, they sent Alex Caruso to OKC, arguably one of the most in-demand on-ball defenders in the NBA. All-NBA guy, All-NBA defensive guy 2 years in a row. Makes Oklahoma City significantly better, can do more things, was in demand. And you traded him for Josh Giddey. Not only that, you now crippled yourself in a Zach LaVine deal, because if you can get Alex Caruso, you're willing to buy out Zach LaVine. I think there would have been half a dozen teams who would have done that. And now that all goes out the window. And you traded DeMar DeRozan's best friend on the roster in Alex Caruso. This trade, beyond the Josh Giddey off-court underage girl thing, this trade is one of the worst trades in recent Bulls memory.
Yeah.
This is a terrible deal.
It's an embarrassing deal. I don't know.
Terrible.
I don't know who saw this trade and was like, yeah, this seems like a good idea. Oh, OKC wants to offload Josh Giddey and move on from the just frankly terrible PR for the organization. Oh, yeah, we'll pick him up. And I love the reporting from Woj yesterday, right? Where Woj is talking about how the Bulls view Giddey as a guy with unrealized superstar potential. You're serious. You really think that Josh Giddey is someone that's going to be 25 plus a night, 10 assists a night? Like,
if he is, you're going to be awful.
Like, my God, dude, what are you looking at?
He's a 30% three-point shooter. I think he's 31% for his career from three. He's not a good shooter. If he's averaging 25 points a game, you don't have a star on your roster.
Like, did the Bulls front office look at the East and say, okay, we're not better than the Celtics, we're not better than the Heat, we're not better than the Bucks, we're not better than Indiana, certainly, we're not better than the Knicks. We're definitely better than Charlotte. We're like you see what I mean? Like you're looking at an Eastern Conference that certainly has gotten deeper, but the East is gettable. The East is gettable if you'll just build a solid roster. And what really bothers me is like this. I saw some people talking about how it was like, oh, well, they shipped Caruso out west and they're not going to see him. And, it's fine. And it's like, no, dude, it's not fine.
No.
It's not freaking fine because now, to your point, as you've said several times this morning, you can't tell me DeMar's excited to play with these guys or without his dudes. And I get it. You probably weren't, NBA finals good with your current roster, but you were playoff good. You were, first round, maybe, in your best year with this roster, second round good. And that's saying something in Chicago. Like, at least then you're relevant. But to have this team go back, because there's no doubt, in my opinion, you are going to now take a step back. You're going to trade LaVine, and that's probably going to be a bad deal too, because again, to your point, you lost your leverage. And now we're going to step back into Garbo, Ben Gordon, Kirk Heinrich with nobody to play with teams. That's who we're going to step back into. And there's just no reason for it.
Yeah, I think DeMar DeRozan is not going to go back there at all. All right, let's get your thoughts in here on Giving Friday. Let's go. Jake, do we have any submissions yet?
Yes, we have one submission so far.
Who is it? Whose is this?
Floridian Maury Alvarez is in.
Maury Alvarez makes a $20 donation. Monty Show Kids. Thank you. If the Jazz trade with the Bulls, I trust they will mess it up in the long run. Thank you. That's awesome.
Right?
That's awesome.
I mean, I don't even I know you're a little tongue in cheek there, but I don't even think that's wrong. Like, that's the problem. I don't think that's wrong.
No. Maury Alvarez, first one in. So Maury will match your Advocates donation with a $20 Amazon gift card. There you go. Congratulations. Maury Alvarez wins our first Amazon gift card today. Again, we are partnering with the Advocates because they are working with The Road Home, one of the foremost homeless and underprivileged organizations in the country, to provide school supplies. And I mean basic necessities. We're talking about clothing, socks, underwear, backpacks, pencils, pens, paper, the basic necessities that underprivileged kids don't have access to and that we all take for granted. And while I know there's a lot of people struggling, you don't need to make $1 million donation. 5, 20, $1 million, whatever you have in the couch cushions, hook it up on Venmo. Here it is right here. The Advocates on Venmo, Advocates donations on Venmo. Matt Ritson for $5 says Monty to school kids. Okay, so we are at $25. James Stadium Guy, Oak State class of 2004, gives us $10. It's declining my Venmo again. Sorry, my bank is being dumb. Please give to the kids. So we're at $35 this morning.
Yeah.
Everybody who makes a donation, James and Matt Ritson included, we're going to give away a $100 Amazon gift card this morning to at least one person. Maury Alvarez was the first one on Venmo. Maury, we matched your donation with a $20 Amazon gift card, so make sure you DM Jake. All you have to do here, it's pretty easy. All you have to do here is get on Venmo. Send the Advocates donations. Send them a Venmo of any denomination, 5, 20, 100, whatever you got. Send them a Venmo, mention Monty and the kids in the comment section, and you're entered to win. Make sure you take a screenshot of it, send it to Jake on Instagram, SLC Jake on Instagram, you're entered to win.
Yes.
What are you doing over there?
Talking to Maury.
All right, good. There you go. Hook it up. Let's get your comments on the Zach LaVine and the Jazz. Let's see. Wow, look at you guys this morning. Ghost of Gumby says second first. Daniel Dixon, hello. Dakota Tubbs, second first. Okay. Our favorite mail carrier, Aaron Wilson. Pew, pew. Huge Texas Tech guy. Yo. It's AW. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Dakota says Greg definitely needs an advocate of emotional damage. Greg Hawkins, our guy Greg Hawkins, was stuck on a tarmac in Salt Lake City for 3 hours yesterday on his way to, I believe he said Iowa, for a funeral. His plane was so delayed, his connection through Denver was not possible anymore. So you're going to a funeral, you're stuck on the tarmac for 3 hours. You finally get in the air, you get to Iowa, you missed your flight, or you get to Denver, you missed your flight to Iowa, and now there's not another flight that'll get you there in time for the funeral. And he says that the airline won't compensate him. He flew with his mother. The airline won't compensate them, and that's because it was a weather delay. There was a ground stop in Denver because of weather. Hope you're good, dude. Suh, dude.
Dude.
Stogie. Wow, I finally catch a live show after roughly a year of subscribing. We love it.
Hey.
We love it. Appreciate you. How's the water situation?
Dude.
Caps Lock Friday. Let's go. I don't have water. Appreciate it. Stogie. The Jazz are barely relevant at all, even back when they had Stockton and Malone.
Well, look, I think the natural reaction is to go back to that time, and I just don't think it's necessary. We're in a different time now, and if you want to hate on the Jazz, that's fine. I'm not even a Jazz fan. We cover the Jazz because we have a following on that. We broke a bunch of news when the Gobert Donnie trades happened, and
Jake, we don't have sources.
Yeah, we don't watch Jazz games.
Trust me,
now that Jazz Plus is a thing. But anyway, the point is that ultimately you're. A lot of Jazz fans want to get back to that. They want to get back to the Jazz being relevant and being, even if you're just a pain in the ass in the West, even if you're the season ender for other teams who, are trying to get in or go deeper in the playoffs. That's what Jazz fans want. And I don't know when that's going to happen. And I feel like we've been talking about it for 2-3 years now under Ryan's ownership. Hey, when are we going to turn this around? When are we actually going to invest? When are we going to build a playoff team? And I'm telling you guys, I would change your expectations because I don't believe for a second, and again, it's my opinion, could be wrong, but I don't believe that Ryan Smith is going to invest in this team anytime in the next 2 to 3 seasons. I think what he's going to do is he's going to hold on to his money. He's going to get the hockey team established, and we're going to do a bunch of rebrands, and we're going to celebrate all this cool, cheesy ass stuff, and then maybe at some point the Jazz will start winning again. But I would not even be a little bit surprised if the hockey team was in the playoffs before the Jazz are. Wouldn't be surprised by that even a little bit.
Yeah, that would be incredibly disappointing. Incredibly disappointing. Main event. The Jazz remind me of the owner from the first Major League movie. They don't want to win. I think want is not the word I would use.
No.
They're not willing to do what it takes to win. And I say that because I think Ryan Smith doesn't want to spend his own money to make it happen. And if we've talked a lot about Ryan on this show, Ryan Smith is a billionaire that is asking for a handout. And everything Ryan Smith has done as the owner of the Jazz has been disappointing, and I don't think that's too strong. The arena renovation, getting the All-Star game, pretty dang good. Pretty dang good. I think one of the bigger issues here is that his player movement has been, well, I don't know the right way to say it. His player movement has been mid at best.
Right.
I say that because you did nothing to backfill Donnie and Rudy. You didn't replace their money. You saved a bunch of money. He's not willing, Ryan Smith, to reach into his own pocket and spend to win an NBA championship. I think his priority is, hey, let's bring a hockey team to Salt Lake City, renovate the arena, and build a downtown district that will put more money in my pocket. My belief is that's where his priorities lie. And until that changes, he's not going to spend on the Jazz. And one of the main reasons I don't see him making a LaVine deal is it would require them to take on $3 to $5 million in salary. And I don't see that happening. I truly do not. And I think he's willing to make minor deals like, re-signing or opting back into Jordan Clarkson. Re-signing Clarkson, he's a fan favorite. It's not a major star player. Add a $40 million contract to your books.
Mm-hmm.
That's not, Ryan Smith is not willing to do that, in my opinion, at this point. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope tomorrow, today, yesterday, I hope they go and make a deal for a true difference-making wing superstar in this league. What have they done previously that would tell us that that's going to happen? Because your best indicator of future action is past behavior. He's shown us no past behavior that he's willing to add salary. Frankly, to the contrary, he is willing to cut salary. He has got one of the most team-friendly contracts in Lauri Markkanen that I think we've ever seen in this league. And he's trying to trade his biggest contract in John Collins. Let that sink in. His biggest contract is John Collins. Oh, we're bringing the kid home. He's from Layton. Didn't work out. Did not work out.
Even though by pretty much everybody's estimation, John held up his end of the bargain.
I think John Collins played well.
Yeah.
It's not John's fault that Atlanta offered him all that money. And it did get you out of, what did they do? That deal was Rudy Gay, if I remember right. It got you out of Rudy Gay's deal.
Yeah. Which was not a team-friendly deal.
And you got more production and a guy that you could play reasonable minutes because you couldn't play Rudy Gay. Okay, great. But now you're going to turn around and trade your largest contract, not for the first time, not for the second time, but for the third time.
And I'm just curious, when do we get the Lauri extension? Because at some point you are going to have to extend him or obviously make a decision on him. And I think that Ryan has always gone with the angle of, hey, like, let's make sure the fans have a great experience and merch and like all you guys know what I'm talking about. He's always kind of stoked that fandom fire.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of trouble thinking that Jazz fans, would just look past the fact that, yeah, we didn't extend Lauri. Lauri's gone. You're telling me if Lauri leaves this organization one way or the other, that Jazz fan would be fine with that?
They're going to attempt to extend him. I don't think they're willing to give him a maximum extension.
Well, and that's, I think, the question. Attempt to extend him. Will they make a reasonable attempt? Because he's going to want the max. That's
he's earned the max.
I agree. He's earned the max. So if you're not willing to give him a max, are you really trying to extend Lauri Markkanen?
We'll see.
Come on.
And every Jazz fan yesterday on Twitter, Lauri loves being here. Okay, cool. Talk to me at contract time. And it is contract time. It is contract time. And again, I think the Jazz could make a Lauri Markkanen trade right now. I know almost for a fact that they have multiple deals on the table. And they haven't done that. And I think it's because Ryan Smith very much cares what you think about him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Ryan Smith is worried about what people will say if you trade Lauri Markkanen. And as he should. He's been great. Giving Friday on the Monty Show. Jake, who we got in here? Tubinsky making an $11 donation. Monty for the kids. Mike Gundy and Oak State have the 11th most wins in the college football playoff era. So he donated $11. I appreciate that.
I'm a man.
I appreciate that. We are moving the needle now. Get on Venmo, Advocates donations. You see it right here on the screen.
Yes.
Advocates donations.
Do it.
They are working with the Road Home to provide less fortunate kids the basic necessities for school Things like supplies, clothing, underwear, socks. And I say it every year that we've talked about this. Imagine that you're a 10-year-old kid who doesn't have parents who can afford to buy you nicer clothes, who can afford to buy you underwear. Imagine going to school without underwear as a 5th grader or a 7th grader. I mean, let that insecurity sink in. Maybe you're wearing socks that have holes in them. Maybe you're not wearing socks at all. Maybe you're not wearing socks and you're probably not wearing the nicest shoes. How much heat are you taking for that? Let's end that. Let's help kids who don't have another alternative feel better about themselves. Let's help kids empower themselves to end that cycle of poverty in their life. Empower them to be educated. Empower them to be confident. Empower them to wake up every morning and look forward to the day. That's what we're doing. That's what this is about. Advocates donations on Venmo. In the comment section, just put, hey, Monty for the kids, and then whatever message you would like. And today we will give away at least one $100 Amazon gift card. We break 1,000, we're gonna break the bank. We're gonna give away a bunch of Amazon gift cards.
Yeah.
So let's see. Dakota says, morning, Steve. Stepanik says, good morning. Dude that abides. Thanks for the Friday show, fellas.
Dude, whoa, bro. Thank me, dude. I showed up. Like, you guys should be tipping me personally in the comment section. I showed up today. I didn't go to the rollers and get my taquito. I came to do the show. This is what I get.
Scott of Greywater Watch. Oh, Jesus. If Lonzo Ball didn't get injured,
bro,
is one of the greatest NBA what ifs. It really is. Because I think people forget Lonzo Ball was a baller in this
and they're
league.
going to trade him too. They're going to trade him too.
I don't know that he ever plays again. He's been out. You guys understand he hasn't played a game in 2 years?
Yeah, but he got his knee redone, and they got that figured out, and most people expect him to make a comeback.
How? Do you trust the guy at all?
Well, no. I mean, I don't think anybody knows what he'll be, but I think if he can prove he can stay healthy, I think he deserves the opportunity to prove he can stay healthy. But if he comes back and he's the same guy, yeah, his career's probably over.
Marvell Strickland. The Jazz could have traded for both Alex and Giddey. Giddey will be a great player down the road. Okay, based on what is Josh Giddey going to be a great player? So he doesn't shoot the ball well. He doesn't seem to have a real, what's the word? A real great feel for the game, right? He's not a natural flow player. He very much has to plot and think about what he's doing. Does that make that doesn't make great players? And when you are the center of a criminal investigation, is that a guy you really want on your roster? Somehow I don't think it is. He's not 25 points a game good, but he's 6'7", and he did fine before OKC got good. He didn't do that.
Okay, next comment.
Boston Mapes, is there not an emotional damage drop? It's shocking.
Bro.
Where's the emotional
damage?
damage?
Do we need an
emotional damage.
Why do we need that drop? Why would that? Why is that?
Well, as a Bulls
here?
fan, I need.
Oh, okay.
You know, Scott of Greywater Watch. Hockey ratings are up. Apparently, Ryan might know what he's doing. I'm not saying that Ryan Smith isn't a good businessman. Bill Qualtrics got the Jazz. Totally understand it. Paper billionaire. But does he know what he's doing in acquiring assets? Clearly. Does he know what he's doing in building an NBA basketball team? Does he know what he's doing in marketing anything? Because any marketing initiatives he's touched have been a shit show. There's no other way to spin that.
Agreed.
The Jazz uniform rollout, horrendous. No purple uniforms because you didn't submit them in time and what most people think was forgot. Horrendous. This Utah NHL Salt Lake City Hockey Club, the Yetis thing, horrendous. You're going to announce the name and then you can't use it for a year. You can't sell a jersey for a year.
With the, I guess,
horrendous.
Not new name, the official name, I guess. Like, it's
horrendous.
There's too much baggage with it, dude. It's too clunky. Like, it should have just been like, people ask me, hey, well, why didn't you why is it surprising that they're just going with Utah Hockey Club for a year and then they're going to have, this whole thing? What was surprising to me about it is you did this whole, you did a rollout.
Yes.
For what was already rolled out. Like, we knew that it was going to be Utah Hockey Club, but you kind of tried to frame it in this way where it was like, oh, well, look at these new jerseys and check out the merch. And what stood out to me so much is that it is a Utah Jazz hockey jersey. It's the same font. It's the same company doing it. It lacks the soul that the Jazz jerseys frankly lack. And I looked at it and I said, hey, I get it. I actually like the baby blue color scheme, but I don't like the way it feels. I still, to this day, even with the Jazz jerseys they just did, the new purple rollout this 2 weeks ago or whatever, whenever that happened. My first question was, why don't you have one that says Jazz? Right? I get it, Utah, totally get it. But why not have one that says Jazz? Because that's what the Jazz jersey has been for decades. It's been the note, and it literally says Jazz on the front, and all of them say Utah. And I understand, and I love that Ryan is so committed to the Utah brand, right? Hey, we want to push the state forward, and we want to sort of step into the spotlight, if you will, I guess, if you want to put it that way. But I do kind of feel like Ryan is a bit tone deaf to, hey, you can't just skip out on the heritage of the organization. But
Jake, it's Purple Mountains.
I don't know, man. I'm not trying to be a hater.
It's Purple Mountains, Jake.
Yeah. I don't know. I like that they redid it and it's purple and it's black and white.
But Jake, it's Purple Mountains, bro.
I think that's the proper color scheme.
Listen. I get it. You don't want to be the Jazz. You want to be the Utah basketball team. But at least that's what you're telling me. And I would also remind you what the black uniform isn't available until February, I think it is.
Yeah, it's a while.
I mean, you're going back to your quote unquote, and I believe the words they used was our roots. This is going back to your roots?
This was my first reaction when I saw this specific picture. Just look at the two purple uniforms. The only difference between them is the color of the font. That's it.
Well, in the mountain design, and I think they look remarkably similar. There are things like the layered, if you look at Walker Kessler's chest, 24, the layered mountains, the color band, but they look very similar.
You're not wrong, but it might as well be the same unit.
They look very similar.
My point is one of those should say Jazz. One of those should say Jazz. And then you transition into the hockey side, and it looks exactly the same. And I understand on the hockey side why you had to do it where, hey, we did this thing kind of quick. We didn't have time to roll out an original kind of brand for our team. So we had to do Utah. Okay. I get that on some level, but you're a professional sporting organization.
I think the hockey jersey is worse.
Oh, it is. But my point is, you're a professional sporting organization, and this is the best you could do, even on short notice.
I think it's horrendous. I just think it's really, really bad.
I'm genuinely asking in the comments section, am I an asshole for saying, hey, Common Joe guy could have done this? Is that too harsh? Because I feel like that's the truth. I feel like these uniforms right here, the average Joe person could have come up with these. This isn't wow, you guys really came up with some cool stuff.
Groundbreaking.
Hey, this is, you know what I mean? And that's where I feel like it's just yeah, dude, Ryan, you're a businessman. You know how to make $1. Like as you said, right? Like, hey, you built Qualtrics. You know how to do the business side of like a P&L sheet, but you have no clue how to do marketing initiatives.
Still does not
like,
have a full-time video team in-house. Still does not have, in my opinion, does not have a large enough marketing department. Contracts his marketing out. I'm telling you.
Right? Like, why?
This is what we're seeing. All right. Your thoughts are welcome. Lee Jensen, when Monty does the Tanner voice, he's Marty.
It's the Marty Show.
What's a Tanner voice? I don't know what that is. Scott, I love NBA free agency talk. Also, that McDavid guy plays tonight.
Dude,
McNuggets?
listen to me right now.
We're playing for McNuggets tonight.
If you're not a hockey fan and you haven't been following the Stanley Cup, tonight's the game that you need to tune in.
Yeah, I agree. James says Jake is awesome. I thought you guys broke up over text.
We did.
Okay. Troy Clauston. I saw French toast wrapped sausage on the roller this morning. It was hard to walk away from it. Do you understand that your fecal matter situation has changed the way people from this show go into convenience stores?
Hold up. My fecal matter situation.
Yeah, you ate off of a roll. You ate a taquito off of a roller at a convenience store.
Right.
You ate fecal matter.
Dude, no, I didn't.
Yeah, you did. Actually, you did. You did.
Okay.
You did.
Okay.
And now Troy can't walk past, what did he say? French toast wrapped sausage without thinking about you.
Yeah, wrapped sausage is really hard to walk away from, bro.
Stay hard.
Okay. James, the artist that will be known as the Yetis. No, James, it's Yeti. The Utah Yeti. Not Yetis, the Yeti. Like the cooler. Scott says, great point, Marty. He said Monty, actually. The Ghost of Gumby, I'd laugh if there was a typo on the jersey that read the Utah Yodas. That would be amazing. Back to those Bourbon Street roots for the Jazz, eh? Exactly.
Right? Like, come on.
The Ghost of Gumby, lazy branding and lazy execution. Paper billionaire is going to paper billionaire. Truth. I do web and graphic design, and I could have done a better jersey.
That's my point, dude. Like, the hockey jersey just like the amount of Canva jokes that were made on X the day that these came out was incredible. I mean, people were like, "Oh, did you guys make your hockey jersey in Canva, man?" Like, it's the same.
It's just there's no creativity at all.
Like,
at least it's not fucking purple. If they had been purple, I would have been off the wagon. At least they're not purple. And I don't mind the blue, black, white color scheme. Don't mind it. I think the black jersey is clearly the better alternative here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't mind powder blue. I think as a scheme, it's fine.
But do not tell me that that's what the Yeti jersey is going to look like. And it will be Yeti. Do not tell me that that's what that Yeti jersey is going to look like.
Yeah.
You know, kindergarten kid did that. Could be. The Ghost of Gumby, I did better work in kid pics back in the day. Yes. Calford for Purple Mountain Majesties. I mean, this is a step up. I'm not even
saying I hate these. All I'm saying is I just think you should have one that says Jazz. That's it. That's my only feedback. I think you improved. I think this is, I'm reinventing the wheel here. This is better than white, yellow, and black, Ryan. Okay. It's definitely better.
I don't want to go and get those ugly. I actually didn't hate the black. Okay. I can't say out loud. Okay. Let me get the picture.
Do it. We need to do it.
The black uniform. And I didn't even hate the yellow uniform. Marty. Look here, Marty. Don't you lie to us now, boy. Marty, don't you turn coat on us now. If you look at these uniforms, this is the current uniform from this past season.
Mm-hmm.
The white one smells like somebody's jock. Like that's not that's a practice uniform. Yeah. The black jersey's great. The purple, you forgot that you wanted a purple uniform. The yellow one is, as an alternate, it's not bad. The problem is you left those black, orange, red things that were amazing. Yeah, the gradient was amazing. This is this a step up? Yes, but is it really a step up when you're stepping up from this? That's what, like, you need help. You got to get
I
help.
just don't understand why you don't have an in-house team. Why do you not have a team inside your building every day that their sole mission is to make you money through merch? Like,
Yeah, totally agree. Matt Ritson, they went cheap on the hockey uniform, clearly. James, we should all push for Utah Yodas for the hockey team. It's going to be Yeti. Chad Carter. Hey, Margie, I made those jerseys in MS Paint. Caps Lock Friday. Why are you yelling?
but I had no water for my paint. So
Dakota Tubbs, a member for 10 months.
Oh, let me pull it out for you, Dakota. Okay, there we go. Nice job, dude.
Remember, everyone, Jake and I are registered at the QT Roller at 3101 Southwest Boulevard, KCMO, where the Chiefs and Royals used to play. 64108. 64108.
Okay.
Jake will be there Saturday afternoon.
I won't be there.
Steve Stepanek, we have a store that's dirty when you walk in. I went once, walked in, then out. Okay. The Utah Yodas with Tanner Plummer as the sideline mascot.
Don't you know who I am?
Jeremy Severe, hello. Ryan Smith should pay a marketing team as well as pay for BYU recruits. Yes, he should. In-house, full-time. Or if you hire an agency, it's got to be dynamic. Daniel Dixon, could be worse. They could be pride colors. Pride colors would be a step up.
Let's not.
That'd be a step up.
Yeah.
The Ghost of Gumby. Homie was too cheap to pay for MS Paint. Homie saved coin by designing those jerseys in GIMP. What is GIMP?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I have no
All
idea.
right. Hour number one comes to a close with Jeremy Severe. The new Jazz jersey looks weirdly similar to the Sacramento Kings jersey. Does it really? The purple. And Jazz fan, can I just ask, does everything have to be purple?
Apparently.
Does everything have to be purple?
And they're not bad.
They're not great.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm not like, damn, dude, like, you guys smashed this. I'm just more like, yeah, okay, we checked the box.
Yeah, it is. All I can say is there's Rory looking at the new Jazz uniforms. Hey, Rory, look at these uniforms.
Oh.
Hey, Rory, did you see the new hockey uniforms in Utah for that Utah Hockey Club? Okay.
Come
on, that's a little funny. Right. Exactly. Yes. GIMP, GNU Image Manipulator, open source software.
Okay, that's above my pay grade, bro.
Big Blue Horses. I miss Larry Miller. Everybody misses LHM. You knew he was all in on the Jazz. You never questioned his commitment to Utah and basketball. No, you didn't.